All I did is point out the fact that on the cover of the National Enquirer, there was a picture of him and crazy Lee Harvey Oswald having breakfast. Now, Ted never denied that it was his father. Instead, he said, Donald Trump, I had nothing to do with it.
And that was Donald Trump back in 2016, denying his involvement in this magazine cover, the National Enquirer, falsely alleging Ted Cruz's father was linked to JFK's assassination. Remember, Cruz and Trump, they were competing for the GOP presidential nomination at that time. And today, David Pecker, the CEO of the National Enquirer's publisher, American Media, Inc., giving bombshell testimony at Trump's criminal trial, admitting that that story was completely manufactured, including a fake photo. Pecker saying, quote, we mashed the photos in the different picture with Lee Harvey Oswald. That's how that story was prepared. Well, created, I would say. And it was all done at the direction of Trump's lawyer at the time, Michael Cohen. Pecker testifying, quote, after the Republican debates and based on the success that some of the other candidates had, I would receive a call from Michael Cohen, and he would direct me and direct Dylan Howard which candidate and which direction we should go. That's how the process happened. Cruz today denying comment, telling NBC News that he's, quote, not interested in revisiting ancient history. Pecker detailing a mutually beneficial agreement between Trump and the tabloid magazine. Pecker admitted when he promoted Trump with positive coverage like this, what you're seeing right now, it actually helped both his magazine sales and it helped Trump. But when prosecutors asked if buying up negative stories of Trump helped the magazine, Pecker said, quote, no, that didn't help. It benefited the campaign. And by that, he means the Trump campaign. Pecker testified about the catch-and-kill scheme involving ex-Playboy model Karen McDougal, who is a prosecution witness. When McDougal first approached the National Enquirer, Pecker told Trump he should buy the story. Trump told him, quote, anytime you do something like that, it always comes out. And of course now, those words coming back to haunt Donald Trump. Joining me now is Lachlan Cartwright, former executive editor with American Media, Inc., the National Enquirer's parent company, and Maya Wiley is back with me. Lachlan, it's great to have you here. Talk about what it's like to see David Pecker on the stand. I want to get your honest assessment of how you think he's doing on the stand.
It's truly surreal. Yeah. Up until yesterday, I hadn't seen David Pecker since I left American Media, which was in the summer of 2017. He's aged. He is moving incredibly slowly. And bearing in mind, this was someone who created an incredibly toxic newsroom, which was governed by fear on sales figures. And, he was known to scream and shout. I saw him in the courtroom laughing yesterday. Having said that, he is doing, I think, an incredible job of really talking the jury through in very forensic detail as to how this election interference occurred, dating back to that meeting, that key meeting in August of 2015, where he is with Michael Cohen and Donald Trump, and says, I'll be the eyes and ears of the campaign, and we'll run negative stories about your rivals while also, catching and killing stories and taking stories off the market about that would be negative to the campaign.
So let's be clear. What you've heard so far from David Pecker in terms of how this catch-and-kill scheme happened, specifically at the Enquirer, is accurate thus far. Is that correct? It
is. It is. There are a few sort of small details he's off on, which you can put down to the years that have gone by. For instance, he said today that the Dorman story was brought to him by Dylan Howard via a source. It actually came via our tip line. But everything he is saying is tallying with my knowledge from the time.
And he talked about checkbook journalism yesterday, which is the first time I've ever heard that phrase, the idea that you're paying, well, it's not just you're paying for the source, but there was like a limit on how much you could buy for the source and all this other stuff. But we heard today, too, that these non-disclosure agreements or these source documents that were being signed, that they were amended for somebody like Dino Sajudin, Dino the doorman, to make it in perpetuity for the exclusivity, et cetera. I mean, these things were decisions that somebody like David Pecker made, right? I mean, this is where the buck stopped at the Inquirer, right?
That was another absolutely surreal moment where they put up the Dino the Doorman contract so the jury could see. That contract sat in a safe. That safe was in my office, which I use as a footrest. And a moment came where I had to open that safe because I was helping the Wall Street Journal after they broke the Karen McDougal story, and the reporter asked about other such incidents that were going on. And I told him about the Dino the Doorman catch and kill, and he was trying to track down the names of both the love child, who was actually calling the love adult at that time because of her age, and also the woman. So I had to get the contract out of this rusty old safe and then signaled him, the same app that David Pecker was referring to, how he communicated with Michael Cohen, the encrypted messaging app. I signaled the names to Lucas Elpin of the Wall Street Journal, went to put the contract back in the safe and tried to close the safe, and the door wouldn't close. And I was panicking. I thought at any moment Dylan Howard could come in to my office and see the safe open. And so I had to turn the TV up on my office, and I was there hammering the safe, and it finally shut. But it was an absolutely terrifying moment. So to see that contract up on the TV today in the courtroom was just one of those moments where I'm like, I'm going through this trip down a very dark memory lane, but it also has these comical, almost Coen brother type moments that I just sit there and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I lived through all of this.
I see a Netflix movie. Okay, so Maya, I find that to be amazing and humorous and kind of wild, but I want to talk about, though, how outrageous it is, though, the testimony today, though, that it was just common and okay to make these false stories up and to put them up for these negative headlines and to generate fake news, literally fake news. But it was, to Lachlan's point, it started in 2015. That was the first time that they had ever paid to take a negative story about Donald Trump. How important is it for the jury to understand that that was that pivotal moment when the rubber met the road, I guess?
When we heard in opening statements from the people, Manhattan District Attorney's Office, that this was a case about a conspiracy, an agreement, that room in August of 2015, where you get more than one person, you have to have at least two. They're not charged with conspiracy per se, but this is what their theory of the case and what they have to show. This agreement was very much to ensure that the campaign was successful over and over again. And the fact that this didn't happen before is exactly the kind of, to me, and I think you said this on social media too, Katie, that that was the brass ring. That was the brass ring, because that's the thing that said to the jury, don't think this is just not hush money payments are not illegal. So that's not the story here on crime and criming. It's the fact that this never happened before that tells you there was something unusual about this agreement that the rest starts to prove as they show that, including David Pecker, that's what you put up. It's just so important that David Pecker's saying, no, actually, this didn't help us as a business. It's one thing to say it helps us as a business because we get more sales if we help Donald Trump, the candidate. That's not illegal. But that we're now doing something that does not help us. We are doing it to help the campaign, and that is the agreement we made that started in August of 2015. That is stunning.